Benjamin Sumo looked down into the empty quarry. He kicked a stone hard and watched it fly over the precipice and bounce 10 times before settling at the bottom of the muddy pit. It had been 3 days since he had helped in the messy evacuation of the mine's workers. They had closed the mine after a series of assaults from RUF rebels which they had barely held off. He raised his binoculars to his face and stared at the horizon. He could see the beautiful luster of the green forests in the distance. He focused back on closer plains, the dehydrated red earth of the mining territory. The extreme contrast between these two environs made him feel thirsty. He lowered the binoculars, letting them hang heavy around his neck again, and pulled up his grubby canvas-lined canteen from the floor. He undid the cap and drank deeply before pulling the lenses back up to his eyes and twisting them for a moment to clarify the blur. Quickly scanning the perimeter of the mine, he noticed a pillar of dust billowing on the highway. He zoomed in, clearly recognizing the neat outlined shadows of military-grade weaponry mounted on an open-backed jeep moving at a furious pace. Only now remembering his radio, he felt his stomach turn inwards with the realization of his mindlessness. He sprinted back towards his post and scrambled up into the crow's nest of the lookout tower. He quickly grabbed the receiver and pushed the button for transmission.
Red alert, red alert. Combatants approaching from the north. Headed for the north gate. Estimated arrival in 2 minutes. Take up defensive positions immediately.
He sounded the alarm, hearing the dull drone revolving below him, and repeated his message. He watched as the soldiers scurried into position, searching for his father, General Benjamin. Finally he found his father, dressed in proud military regalia, arms astray, directing troops like a conductor. Dr. Markley, the aging director of the Gold and Diamond Mining Corporation, burst forth from his porta-cabin office, rushing down the small steel steps and over towards General Benjamin. The director was dressed in a shirt and khaki trousers, his casual attire now covered in the clouds of dust kicked up around him by the soldiers. The director grabbed Benjamin by the elbow and slapped him on the back angrily. From his lookout post, Benjamin could see them shouting at one another. The soldiers would struggle to organize themselves effectively without the general's guidance. The knot in Benjamin's stomach grew ever tighter. He could not believe the chaos that was playing out before him. They had rehearsed this scenario endlessly, but now it seemed as if the players had all forgotten their owls. The first shots rang out at the gate. Benjamin saw Dr. Markley lead his father into the porta-cabin. Not knowing what this meant, he strapped the radio pack onto his shoulders, grabbed his M16 and charged down the ladder to the red earth below. He stuck close to the rim of the crater and sprinted down the bank towards the brain gun rattle. He found 4 of the other lookouts at a heavy machine gun vantage point cut into the bank of the quarry west of the skirmish. He skidded into prone position alongside the other soldiers and began to fire on the armored vehicle. Raising his binoculars to his eyes, he scanned the horizon and saw 3 other dust clouds hurricaning towards them. The RUF soldier manning the DSHK heavy machine gun mounted on the first jeep was cutting through the soldiers on the walls of the quarry mercilessly. Benjamin could hardly bear to watch. He stood up and made off for the gate, the bellows of his partners at the vantage point bouncing around the quarry walls.
Third break crank.
A piercing noise tore through the air around Benjamin's head as the rocket-propelled grenade sped towards its final destination. It smashed the machine gun outpost to smithereens. The projectile had passed just meters from Benjamin's head as he ran towards the gate. Shrapnel fell around him like confetti. He didn't turn back. Closer now, he could see that something had gone horribly wrong on the other side of the quarry. There were streams of desperate-looking men charging through the forecourt of the mining camp. They must have taken out the western lookout before he had a chance to report the advance of the second group. Soon enough, the percussive echoes of the government M16s diminished and were overridden by the frantic thrashing snarls of the rebels' miscellany of automated weaponry. Cacophony turned into abhorrent peace. Benjamin, realizing his own powerlessness, fell to his knees behind a rocky outcrop. His thoughts turned to his father. He brought the binoculars back up from his chest and sought out the porta-cabin. He held his breath and his mind reeled with the possibilities of what could occur. In that moment he insulted himself for knowing that his father would soon be dead. He watched, in a wash of deja vu, as a skinny man in a vest, wearing sunglasses and a cowboy hat, dragged his father by the scalp through the door of the cabin and into the dust, followed by another man who kicked Dr. Markule down the hard steel steps. Dr. Markule fell awkwardly into the dirt, face down. The skinny man pulled Benjamin's father stiffly upright on his knees and spat some inaudible order into his face. The general raised his hands to the back of his head, his face hung solemnly low and his expression impossible to read. A shot rang out, filling the quarry with a dozen replicas. His father flinched. Dr. Markule was dead. Benjamin could taste acid bile on his tongue as his saliva ducts went into overdrive. The skinny man fired a shot between General Benjamin's eyes. Benjamin's stomach gave way and his father dropped to the ground like a doll.